When we think about prisons, we usually picture iron bars, right? Like concrete walls, things you can actually touch.
Right, yeah, the physical stuff.
Exactly. But the most effective prisons are the ones where the inmates don't even know they're locked up, where the walls are, well, they're built inside their minds before the physical ones are even poured. So welcome to the deep dive.
Always glad to be here.
Today we're looking at a stack of psychological analyses on Eren Yeager, from Attack on Titan to, explore that exact phenomenon. Our mission for you today is to unpack how an engineered environment and a really specific tragedy combine to forge what they call a trauma-fused identity.
Yeah, and to really understand, Aaron, we have to start with the engineered information vacuum of Paradise Island, right? The institutions there designed a society that was kept completely in the dark.
Right, they were actively erasing history, like on a systemic level.
Exactly. Actively erasing it and feeding the population these narratives built entirely on fear with zero outside context.
Okay, let's unpack this, though, because it's kind of like putting a lid match inside a powder keg. Eren's baseline was pathologically restless, regardless of that conditioning, right?
Oh, absolutely. Even before any trauma hit, he and Armin were sneaking forbidden books.
Yeah, he viewed those walls not as safety, but as an insult.
Right. He already possessed this extreme empathy, but paired with intense volatility. Think about it.
Well, yeah, at just 9 years old, he killed 2 grown men to save Mikasa, which is, pretty extreme.
It's wild. And he shook afterward. He felt the weight of the violence, but he acted without any hesitation against a perceived injustice.
So his identity was built around freedom before he ever really lost anything. It makes you wonder, was his obsession just a response to trauma or a pre-existing condition waiting for a catalyst?
Well, if you look at that baseline, the obsession with freedom was definitely a pre-existing condition. He was already highly volatile. But that pre-existing spark found its horrific catalyst the day Wall Maria fell.
Yeah, we all know the story of that day, but psychologically, the details are just devastating. His last interaction with his mom was an argument.
Which is just brutal for a kid.
It is. And then when Hans carried Eren away, it was, tactically the right move. You can't fight a Titan and live.
Right, tactically sound, but for a 9-year-old, logic doesn't register at all. All Eren processes is his mother trapped under the rubble, and she's smiling to comfort him while he's being dragged away, completely powerless.
And that dissonance is what triggers what the sources call dramatic helplessness, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Traumatic helplessness.
Yeah.
Witnessing a catastrophe, you are entirely unable to influence forces, a binary response in the brain.
Okay, so what are the 2 responses?
Well, people usually either shut down, just completely overwhelmed by the feeling that action is futile, or they overcorrect.
Oh, they overcorrect, meaning they try to seize control.
Exactly. They develop a compulsive need for absolute control so they never have to feel that helplessness again.
And Eren obviously overcorrected.
He did. Standing in the mud, out of pure survival instinct, he made a vow at 9 years old to eradicate every single Titan.
But wait, wasn't that vow the only thing keeping him going? What was the alternative? Just giving up and dying when he was only 9?
That's a totally fair question, yeah. Because a 9-year-old's prefrontal cortex, the logic center of the brain, isn't fully developed. So that vow bypassed logic entirely.
He just went straight to the survival center.
Exactly.
Wow.
It was encoded directly into his limbic system as an absolute survival mechanism. He essentially hardwired his brain to view any compromise as a literal threat to his life.
So what happens to a child when a survival instinct completely replaces their personality?
It's almost like a psychological autoimmune response. The defense mechanism he built to survive the trauma became so aggressive that it started attacking the host,
Wow, so he never actually developed a post-traumatic identity.
Right, a sense of self existing beyond the trauma. Instead, he formed a trauma-fused identity. The mission didn't belong to him. The mission was him.
And this is where that engineered information vacuum from his childhood comes back to haunting, doesn't it?
Oh, totally. Because he was raised in an environment utterly devoid of outside context, he had no alternative frameworks to process his grief. His worldview was just terrifyingly rigid.
So every relationship, every choice was filtered through that single childhood vow.
Yeah. Any threat to his mission felt like a threat to his actual existence. That's why he was completely unable to entertain the idea that his path might be wrong.
Even when his closest friends were begging him to stop.
Exactly. The sources note that a vow made to survive your darkest moment can eventually become your prison.
The coping mechanisms that save a child might imprison the adult.
Right, beautifully said.
It really makes you think about the vows you've made in moments of powerlessness. You told yourself, I'll never let anyone get close again, or I'll never be weak.
We all do it to some degree.
Yeah, we do. What if the exact coping mechanisms you built to survive your hardest year are the very same walls currently keeping you from building a life worth living? The physical walls might not be there, but the ones built in your mind, are they still keeping you locked inside?